Hello and aloha. Welcome back to my Tuesday tips for Rockin' relationships. I've got a couple of wonderful, juicy questions today, and let's just jump into it. Now, ladies, you know this, but guys, you might not know. And you see a lady wearing a hat, that means it's a bad hair day. I have coronavirus hair, right? We're doing this during the isolation. We're on episode 4, week 4. And this means it's a bad hair day. So this means I've had my hair braided for 2 days and I haven't had a haircut in 3 months. So who cares, right? It's about the information. So let's jump into it. I've got a really great situation actually with one of my private coaching clients. And I have her permission to share this. And of course, I'm not going to tell you her name because confidentiality is of utmost importance, right? But this is a really great situation. And you may think that this doesn't apply to you because it involves a puppy. But wait, it involves a relationship between a husband and wife. So it is all about the communication. And this is just a prime example that you can find any situation, perhaps in your relationship, where this will apply. So let me put my glasses on so I can read. And here we go. All right. Whoops. Okay. So my client is a female, mother of 2, married for, I don't know, around 20 years. And she said, I've been working with a trainer for our puppy since he was little. I told my husband that if we were to get a dog that big, this is a really huge, huge dog breed. If we were to get a dog that big, he needed to have manners. I totally agree. Okay, I told my husband that I needed his support in doing what was asked to train the dog. While he has done most of it, he has complained and argued with me the whole time. I tell him I'm not using hand signals, and so he uses them anyway. If I try to ask him nicely, he's nasty about it. I have included him in the training, and he seems to enjoy what he has done. While he is seeing the benefits of what we've been doing, he still argues with me over everything the trainer says. Honestly, I feel like he's this way with most everything. Okay. Can you see that it's not about the dog? It's most everything, right? This client is at a level of frustration, and our communication is so important. It dictates everything. So how to approach this? One of the things that we believe in my line of work, my line of training, ladies, is that men are always responding to us. So the way that they're behaving, the way that they're treating us is a response to how we've been treating them. Okay. And it's not about today. It's about over the last several years, right? If you're in a real long relationship. So I asked her a couple questions. We worked through this, and I said, was he fully on board with this training style? Did you tell him it was going to be happening, or did you ask for him to participate and get his agreement? Okay. If you ask and they don't agree, that's just telling them, right? That's dictatorship. So she said that he did agree. However, he doesn't believe in the methods by this particular trainer. He doesn't like the particular trainer. So he is showing, in my opinion, he's showing some signs of rebellion. Like he's not bought in to these particular methods taught by this trainer. I don't know who that is. And so he's rebelling against that, right? He's not fully bought in. It's not, the dog training is not happening the way he would want it to happen. Now, this can show up in any area of your life. So imagine kids that are sent to college to be doctors who have no interest in being doctors, right? So mom and dad are both doctors. And from the time before their kids were born, they determined that their kids were going to be doctors, right? Totally not fair. Not fair. And so the kids get sent to a school they don't want to go to study something they don't want to do. What are they going to do? Well, some of them, might become doctors and do well, but they're going to rebel. And this can be very conscious or this can be very subconscious. So So when you're being, let's say, forced into doing something you don't want to do, railroaded into it, right? There's going to be that underlying resentment that's bubbling, whether the person is conscious of it or not. And I believe that's what's happening in this situation with this client. So those kids being forced to study something at a school that they don't want to study at, with a degree they don't want in the first place, they're going to start to rebel. They're going to skip class. They're going to, do poorly with their grades or their tests. They're going to, some of them are going to kind of rebel. Like, imagine if you're being forced as an adult, if you're being forced to do something that you don't want to do, a career path or something like that. So there's going to be that resentment building up. And then that little subtle ways of rebellion are going to happen. So again, even if the person is not conscious of it, if it's a subconscious resentment that's just bubbling, that's just simmering, can you feel it? We've all felt that subconscious resentment that's just simmering below the surface. It's going to come out sideways, right? It's going to come out like poking your partner here or poking them there or rebelling in a certain way. So he was not completely bought in to this style of dog training. And the fact that she's telling me that this is happening in lots of other areas of their marriage tells me that he's probably got an underlying resentment going on. It's bubbling, right? And they haven't found ways to communicate yet about it. So I'm working with her on that. And the thing is, she says, well, I feel resentment too. And I feel hurt and I feel alone. And absolutely she does. And men are responding to how we treat them. And so when she can start to change a little bit how she interacts with him, she will begin to see a change in him, or at least there can be an opening for conversations, because right now he probably doesn't feel respected. When men don't feel respected, that's the equivalent of a woman not feeling loved. Ladies, that's how important it is. And when we disregard them, when we don't, we tell them what to do rather than asking them to be in partnership with us. And I'm not saying that's what she did, but this is, if he perceived it that way, with the dog training and with 100 other things, he's not feeling respected, which means, ladies, that's the equivalent of not feeling loved. And there's that resentment, and then the communication shuts down, right? We've anyone who's been in a long-term relationship has gone through this. And so I invited her to start to have a conversation with him about, talking about, how do you think the dog training is going? Okay, one question, you've heard me talk about this before, one question, and then put that invisible duct tape on your mouth. Listen. Ladies, we complain that men don't talk. It's because we never listen. Interrupting a man is emasculation. It's one of the many ways we emasculate. You see the eye roll that I just did? That's also emasculation when we're talking to him. Oh, brother. So one question, otherwise it feels like an interrogation. Put the invisible duct tape on. Okay, so that question might be, how do you feel the dog is doing in the training, right? Make it about the dog. He likes the results that they're seeing with the dog. Okay, so let him talk about that. And then when he's finished talking, and don't assume when he pauses that he's finished. Stay quiet and go, or tell me more about that. You will be amazed how much men will speak when they are listened to. It's amazing. Anyways, so let him talk about how he thinks the result is going with the dog. It sounds like he likes the result of the situation. And then ask him, is there anything that you wish we would be doing differently? One question, and then invisible duct tape. Or she could ask, what are your thoughts about the trainer? Just like, you have to come from a really open and curious and happy space. So she has to, before she's asking these questions of her husband, she has to be in a happy space. She has to be okay, not totally triggered by the situation. So sometimes it takes a few days before you can come back and revisit and talk, because if she's upset, it's going to come across as criticism. Men listen for the point or the problem. And so if she's upset, he's listening for the problem. And guess what the problem usually is? Him. So guess what that means? His defenses are up. Okay. His defenses are up, and almost anything that is said to him is going to be received as criticism. So that's what's happening. So she needs to be in a happy and okay place. And when we have these conversations, it has to come from a genuine place of human spirit, not the human normal survival instincts, as you've heard me talk about if you've been to my classes. All my work is foundationally based on that. So she needs to come from human spirit and be happy and be genuinely curious. Okay? Not trying to manipulate, not trying to criticize. We'll get nowhere. We'll get nowhere with that. Just think about, where does someone get with you if they try to manipulate you or criticize you? Nowhere, right? The walls go up. That is not communication. That is defense, right? That is defensiveness, to put up this big wall. Okay, so she can get him started talking about that. And as the conversation flows, maybe he says, I don't really like the trainer. I think the trainer's an idiot, whatever he says. Here's the thing. Here's the other thing I had to tell her. Men get their facts. They believe facts only when it comes from a trusted source. I know you've heard me talk about this before, but it is again and again. A trusted source is a person, an organization, a news channel, a newspaper, whatever, that is congruent and consistent. Okay, so men decide what is a trusted source for them. And ladies, we often are not, because when we follow our feelings, which is our truth, that is not congruent. That is not consistent. And that's okay. We'll talk a whole nother time about that. And it kind of stings to think, oh my gosh, I'm not a trusted source of information for my husband. Okay, with my husband, I'm a trusted source for many things. Obviously, relationship advice, because our relationship is a level 20 on a scale of 1 to 10. We're doing great. But he's a financial planner. So guess who the trusted source in the family is when it comes to finances? Not me. Okay, it's him. So I'm not a trusted source for my husband on finances, or necessarily healthy eating or doing lots of exercise. Those are not my strengths. So if this dog trainer for this gentleman is not a trusted source, not someone that he said, hey, I like that person's techniques, I like their theories, I agree with them. Maybe he agrees with the total opposite way of dog training. That person's not a trusted source. So he's not gonna want to follow that methodology of training. Okay, but can you see how it's way more than the dog? It's 100 other situations in this marriage and maybe in your marriage. Okay, so as the conversation goes along, one question at a time, invisible duct tape. And then if she can acknowledge somewhere, two things early on, acknowledge, like, I really appreciate your partnership in this. I really appreciate us working together. I think our puppy is doing great, or the situation is whatever. Give him a compliment. Sincere. Don't make it BS. Men have a BS meter. Don't do that. So give him a sincere compliment and appreciation for something. Thank you so much for providing this. Maybe he's paying for the trainer. I don't know. Thank you so much for providing this. I really appreciate it. And what that provides for me is a sense of happiness. Use the H word, happiness. Blah, 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 whatever. So find a way to acknowledge and appreciate and compliment him. And in this instance, I suggested she find a way at some point as the conversation flows to say, I'm really sorry if you felt disrespected when I chose this trainer. So maybe he'll share that he doesn't like it. Maybe he won't share that. Men don't share when they feel like they're under attack, okay? Or when they feel it's unsafe. When they feel like something they say is going to be used against them later, they don't share. So she can find a way to apologize for disrespecting him. And that can be a tough pill to swallow, because I know how she feels. I know that she feels like she is, she's the victim here. She's doing everything right. He's not cooperating, even after he said he would. And that's okay. When someone agrees to something and then, they don't follow through, it's okay to revisit that conversation later. But with all these same tips, appreciation, even if it's just appreciation for taking the time to talk, there's that. And then, I'm sorry if I disrespected your wishes in some way. That really wasn't my intention. So what do you think the best path to go is for the dog training? And just, again, open and curious and happy, so he feels safe sharing, and then talk about it and come to a compromise. And what I suggested for her is both of them get their turn once they're in the conversation and it's going good. And this can be very playful and very fun. I just taught a class last weekend on this exact thing. They can both get their turn completing this sentence. If I had it all my way, I would. And so he can talk about, maybe first she asks him to complete the sentence. He can talk about, if he had it all his way, what would he do with the dog training? Or the fill in the blank, whatever the issue is in your household. And then she could say, if I had it all my way. And this is where you say what you would really love 100% if you were deciding all of it. Don't hold back, Again, keep it playful, keep it light. And then they can come together with, okay, well, I see that. Well, if I had it all my way, I'd hire the dog whisperer and pay him $10,000 a month and da-da-da-da. Okay, well, obviously we're not going to do that, but what can we do? And maybe it's just adjusting a few things in the training. Maybe it's finding a different trainer. So finding those ways to come together in partnership. Okay, come together in partnership. Again, it's not about the dog, right? It's about the underlying bubbling resentment that happens to all of us at one point or another in a relationship until we talk about it, until we talk it out. And if he's willing, I'll be doing couples coaching with them. I'm already doing coaching with her. I'm happy to do coaching with him and let him know, like, hey, I get it. You've been disrespected. How can we clean this up so you guys can get back to being newlyweds like you were 20 years ago? I was the maid of honor at their wedding anyways. Oops, that kind of gives something away. Anyways, you don't know who my friends are. That's what I have to say about that. And then the other question the second question for today is about giving feedback. And I was teaching all weekend, and this was one of the partnership tools that we talked about. And I happen to be an expert at this partnership tool because I have screwed it up so many times. And usually I screw it up with my friends. I used to screw it up in my romantic relationships too. And now I've learned, and I don't do this the way I used to do it with my husband. And that's why we're a 20 on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So unsolicited feedback is criticism, or is often perceived as criticism. Now, I've been doing personal growth stuff for 20 years, and I'm of the mindset, like, everybody wants to know about their blind spots, right? Like, if I can tell you something that would help you be more successful in your life or in your relationship or with money or whatever, like, if I can tell you a blind spot that you have and tell you something that I know that worked for me or whatever, like, everybody wants to hear that, right? Of course they do. Everybody wants to be better in their lives. Yeah. I learned the hard way. I lost a couple of friendships because not everybody's open to that. And when we give feedback that has not been asked for, or permission has not been granted to give that feedback, it is, I would say 99.99% of the time, received as criticism, whether it's going to a man or a woman. Okay, so you can think about how you feel when you feel criticized, or when someone's giving you advice that you didn't ask them for. Oh, I used to be the worst at this. So here's the tool. Here's the partnership tool. You can ask them, are you open to some feedback on that? Or you can find a different word. Another great word is, are you open to some support on that? So find a way. Are you open to hearing something about that I learned? That's something that might help you. I don't know. It might not. But you got to ask the question and wait for the answer. And if the answer is no, you did not have permission to give somebody feedback. Think about what you're like when you're in the middle of like triggered or upset or on a deadline or running crazy, or, you haven't eaten in all day. When somebody then gives you unsolicited feedback, it's taken as criticism, and you don't want that. And it can be very frustrating, and it can cause you to blow up. And so sometimes it's about timing. So maybe they say no because right now they're not open to the feedback. They've got a deadline to do by the end of the day. They are in hunting mode. We'll talk in another video about hunting mode and gathering mode. If you've been to my classes, you know what that's about. But they are focused on a project, and they cannot hear it right now. They don't have the bandwidth to even absorb it, right? We all relate to that, like having times where I don't have the bandwidth to take on one more thing. So if they say no to your offer for feedback or support, say, okay, no worries. I'm here for you whenever you need it. And then walk away and go do your own thing. Okay. Take a few deep breaths, because you might be feeling triggered. We might be in our human, normal animal instinct when our survival instinct, when we're feeling that need to give somebody feedback or advice. Like, I have to tell them this thing. And that's where I was coming from. And it was coming from a good place. Like, I wanted my friends to be happy and successful, and I saw it. 20 years of personal growth, I can see solutions like nobody's business, right? That is what personal growth and personal development work has given to me. But if somebody's not open to me rattling off my solutions for them, can't do it. Now, if they do say yes, gauge if they really mean yes. If now's a good time. If they're only half listening to you, it might not be a good time. But if they do say yes, then you can deliver the feedback or the advice. And just do your best to frame it so it doesn't sound like criticism. And one of the good ways saying, I don't know if this will help you or not, but here's something that I did, or here's something that my brother Joe did, and this really helped him in this situation. Offer the advice, offer the feedback. You'll feel your instinct tension deflate as you offer it. And then that's it. They do not have to act on your feedback. Men especially, they will hear something. And again, it goes back to that trusted source thing, but they will hear something and then they will percolate on it for a while. They might not act on it. He might not act on it that day. Give him the grace to do that. Think about how you don't like to be told what to do. We're not children, we're adults, right? We can behave whatever way we want to behave, given within the laws and such. However, he doesn't need to act on the feedback right then. He doesn't need to act on it at all. He might not agree with you. So just let it go. So you get to practice a very strong tool that's called detachment. Whether he says no, he doesn't want your advice, he or she, by the way, it could be offering advice to he or she. Maybe they don't want your advice, or they don't agree with it, or they're not going to act on it right now. So just think of it as planting a seed. When you do get to share the advice, be completely detached from if they act on it or not. Okay. Be in human spirit and just go, okay, I offered this gem to them. It's up to them what they do it. I like to think of it as being a farmer. Like, I'm a people farmer, or I'm an idea farmer. I plant seeds in people. Maybe that's what these videos do. I plant seeds, and then let's water it and give it some sunshine and just let it grow. Okay. I don't have to control the process of growth. Some seeds never sprout. Some seeds never grow. That's okay. Like, I don't have to be in control of the entire universe and everyone else's behaviors. So this partnership tool, just remember, unsolicited advice, no matter how well-meaning, believe me, I've made this mistake so much in my life, mostly with friends. And I used to with my boyfriends. Unsolicited advice is often received as criticism. So just ask, simply ask, are you open to hearing my thoughts on that? Are you open to some support on that? And then be completely detached from the answer and what happens next. All right. Thank you so much. I have some fun little things to show you here. Let's see. Here's my thank you banner. Thank you. And I'm here this is the YouTube channel. I'm here on YouTube every Tuesday at noon Central Time. I'm in Texas. So just convert to your time zone. And if you want to know, let's see, I have a link here for you. Here is the link where you can submit your questions for these relationship questions. So if you have a question, it's totally confidential. I don't need your name. I don't need your email. Go ahead and just submit a question. You're not going to be, well, I don't even ask for your email unless you want to give it to be emailed by me, but not required. So that's where it's qa.empoweredrelationships.org. And if you want an easy way to find that link and the link for YouTube and the link for my Facebook group where I'm also going live simultaneously, just go to either of these websites right here, empoweredrelationships.org, and click on events, and barbarasalmeron.com and click on events. So you'll see all the links that you need, where to watch, but also where to submit a question. Okay. And then something exciting is coming up. I've been challenged by Russell Brunson, the genius behind ClickFunnels. I'm in a training with him right now, and I've been challenged to do 365 days of either going live like this, or blogging, or doing a podcast. And I'm going to do all three every day for 365 days. They're going to be shorter than this, but I'm going to do all three. And on both of these websites, right on the front page, as well as the links page, is the link to my new up and coming blog that has nothing on it right now, and my new up and coming podcast that has nothing on it right now. It's going to be really exciting. Every day I'm going to answer one question, and some of them will be questions that I've answered here in this Tuesday tips for Rockin' relationships. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And it'll be on Facebook and on a blog and on a podcast and maybe on Instagram too. I think I'm going to do all of that every day for 365 days, starting June 1st. If I can pull it all together by then, that's when it's going to start. So I will see you next week. Please feel free to invite anyone. Let's see. This is our episode 4. While we're in isolation, hopefully that's not going to last much longer. To all of you having a bad hair day, I know you get it. It's okay. Who cares? It's all good. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get a few more subscribers there. That would be fantastic. And feel free to leave a like or leave a comment, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. And all right, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much. Aloha.